Hey everybody, Nick Furshaw here for FCDallas.com at First Kick in Frisco, Texas, FC Dallas Stadium. I'm very happy to be joined by U.S. national team head coach Jurgen Klinsmann. Jurgen, obviously you're going to watch this season in MLS a little bit differently than maybe you have in the past now as the U.S. national team head coach. How do you watch this game? What will you do today?
Well, I mean, you watch a game overall. Obviously, you want to kind of dig deeper into the squads of all the teams. You want to know the players, not only the American ones, you want to know the foreign players as well. So once you have the chance to do that at the stadium, that's much better than in front of the TV. So that's the first option that you have, you know, go and watch a game at the stadium. And then a special kind of eye you always have on the players that you have in your team, in the national team, or in the kind of the different national team programs, like if it's maybe the Olympic team or something. So the best way to do that is go to the stadium and watch.
Just like the fans, just like everybody else. Yeah. Obviously, a couple guys in this game against FC Dallas, between FC Dallas and the New York Red Bulls, in that national team pool. A lot of conversation about Brek Shea, especially here in Dallas. What does he still have to do? We know he's a favorite of yours, and he has been since he came into the camp with you. What does he still have to do before he's a regular fixture for the national team?
Well, I mean, we have a couple of players like Brek, like in Juan Agudelo or Teal Bunbury and Bill Hamid, you know, breaking through very young, 19, 20, 21, or Brek now 22, with tremendous amount of talent, but they're pretty raw still, which is normal and which is good. So our job now from a national team perspective is to help these players to grow, to help these players to understand what does it really mean to kind of improve on a daily basis. What does it mean, you know, to be a 24/7 professional player? So that's what we're trying to bring across. That's what we're trying to teach them. And Brek is a great listener. He's a guy that is so curious. He's willed constantly. If you call him at 2 at night and say we have a session, he will be there at 2 at night. And this is really important. So he understands that he has still a long way to go. And that's why we tried, you know, at the end of last season, we tried to send a couple of guys to Europe and have 2-3 weeks with European teams just to learn. You know, go in a European club and understand what they're doing. And suddenly you open your eyes and say, okay, this is, again, it's different. I'm not saying it's necessarily better, but it's very different. And it's, the environments are the feelings that you have on a daily basis are just completely different because the peer pressure in Europe or in South America or Mexico is still very different to the US. So they take that with and they come back and they say, well, you know, now I understand, you know, I have to work harder. And I said, yeah. So every time Brek Shea comes into the national team camp, he hears the same stories, you know, got to work harder, we got to do more. But he wants to do more. He wants to work that way, and eventually he will only improve. So this year is big for him. For a lot of the younger players, it's a big year, 2012, because they have the opportunity to play the Olympics if they qualify at the end of the month.
You mentioned it was a busy offseason for Brek Shea, obviously training abroad, and then he has CONCACAF Olympic qualifying later this year and potentially some national team call-ups for you. Do you worry at all about fatigue? These are young guys, but do you worry about them becoming overextended?
No, if they learn how to basically live a professional life, there is no thing that's called fatigue at their age. Not even if they're 35, you know, look at David Beckham, you know, it's no problem, or players overseas, you know. If you kind of understand, you know, what you have to do in order to keep yourself in a perfect shape, then you're fine, you know. So we actually, once he comes into the national team camps, we actually kind of raise the bar again. We go 2 or 3 times a day, and he comes back after a couple of days and says, well, but I feel really good, I feel fresh. Because then also he lives it that way, you know, if it's nutrition, if it's sleep, it's so many different elements. So it's a 24/7 profession, and that's what he's going through. A lot of the youngsters, like Juan Agudelo, for example, as well, they're going through that and they learn. Soccer is a little bit of a different environment because there is no such thing that you can go through college and learn the profession to be a soccer player. You become a soccer player usually with the age of 17, 18, except the few ones that come out of college. But you know, in Europe or in South America, nobody goes to college. You can become pro at, I mean, I became pro at 16. Nobody told me, you know, what I should do, you know, off the field. You just learn by doing. So Brek will learn a lot, you know, now in 2012. I think it will be an exciting year for him, and hopefully with a successful qualification for the Olympics. And going to London and playing Olympics, that's not bad.
We've seen a lot of this young talent come out of the academy, some of the homegrown kids coming out of MLS. How much do you follow sort of the young development of these academy kids and the homegrowns?
We follow all of them. I mean, that's what we try to do now the first couple of months since I got this opportunity with the national team. You know, we built a coaching staff that works hand in hand. So we're going to go filter down all the way to the 15, 14-year-olds. You know, we know what's going on there. So no matter where the kids are, if they're here in the academy system in the U.S., if they're in England and Germany, or we have some in Argentina, we follow them. We know that Mexico is a big market with dual citizenship kids. Absolutely, we know what's going on, and then we kind of discuss it and go from there. So the difference a little bit in soccer is that you got to scout and you got to work on a global base and not just on a domestic one.
There you go. Eyes on everybody in MLS. Jurgen Klinsmann, the U.S. national team head coach. Thank you so much for joining us and enjoy First Kick.